everyone. Nice to be back with you again. Hope you got out to the movies this week. This week, Grandma went to The Mummy, which is, I suppose you could say, the latest remake or installment or whatever in the long-running story of the Mummy, who comes back to life and, wants to take over the world, sort of. This version stars Tom Cruise, who is a sort of treasure hunter, you might say, who comes across a sarcophagus, whatever, that has a mummy in it. And they, along with...
Accidentally, yes.
I wasn't looking for it.
Just
but he gets it back to England with this woman archaeologist and this friend of his, another fortune hunter. And needless to say, the mummy escapes and, wants to take over and, kills a lot of people.
Wreaks a lot of havoc.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not giving away too much to say that. It turns out in this case, though, Tom Cruise is sort of the key to her taking over everything, and
the chosen one.
He's the chosen one. So, what did you think of this, Grandma?
I enjoyed it thoroughly. It was very complicated story, and they made it very interesting. There were a lot of people who were dead who came back to life.
Zombie types.
Whenever she needed, some help, she would call, or she would grab a human and suck the life out of him and make him into, a zombie, or he was
zombie
not
something.
Not exactly a mummy, because they weren't wrapped in bed. They were just the Walking Dead.
So she had lots of help, you might say.
Yes, and other, not just human help, but the birds and the rats, and whenever she needed even a beetle in the story.
Well, don't give away everything.
Well,
okay.
Even a beetle did what she wanted it to do.
So again, how was it?
I thought it was very interesting and very. It used Tom Cruise's talents very well. There was a lot of physical activity, not necessarily fighting, but
lots of action.
Lots of action. The story was essentially good versus evil, and in Tom Cruise's case, he was a mixture of both. And of course, we were cheering for the good part, to come out. And I thought the movie makers did. You have all of those zombies and stuff. You had a lot of work to do as far as special effects.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom did what Tom Cruise does. I thought he was really good in the role. He was okay. Who was the young lady? She did a really good job too.
I don't remember her name, but she
pretty
was
blonde
good.
Lady that
archaeologist.
The archaeologist, and of course Russell Crowe was in it, and he was a mixture of good and evil too, but he was a little bit more on the evil side in this story. What did you think?
Well, I thought it was all right. I mean, it's not great by any means, and it's got some problems. The things that, they did have a lot of good action, and it did sort of keep you guessing. You really, even though you sort of knew where it was going, you didn't know quite what
or how
what was gonna come around the bend, you might say, because they kept throwing different sort of set pieces at you, different action set pieces, and all of them were sort of interesting and sort of fun. Again, Tom Cruise is good at this sort of thing. I would say three sort of things that I would have a problem with about this, though. Again, one thing is, Tom Cruise is, he's good in a lot of these sort of action sort of movies. This is sort of very sort of generic Tom Cruise part, though. There's not really much they don't give him much in the way of an interesting personality, and they don't have a lot of other characters that have real interesting personalities either. And part of that is the dialogue. Again, the dialogue is not particularly good. But there are sometimes, there are a few instances where, again, there's something very humorous, or you know, the dialogue stands out, and you think, well, you know, why isn't there more of that in this movie? Because again, it could really have benefited, I think, from the characters talking with the things they say being a little more interesting, and the way they say them being more interesting. And there's not a lot of that. There's some of it, but not a lot. The last thing is that there are parts of it where it's just, again, this what's going on screen is, again, it's moving the exposition along, again, telling the story, and it's just taking a little long. It's just a little slow and a little long. It's not all action, but there are these parts where, again, it's just sort of to get the story where it needs to be, they have to do this, and they could have just, I think, picked it up a little bit.
More action than necessary.
Well, not more action. Again, more just sitting around and talking and going places and doing, you know, doing stuff other than the action. But again, they're not getting to the point, I think, a little bit. They're just, it's taking too long to get to where they want to do, you know, show these things. But I would probably recommend it. It's not great, but it's sort of fun.
It's not a 2 thumbs up movie. I give it a 1 thumb because I did enjoy it. But your points are very valid. You know, I agree with what you said. But it was entertaining. I would especially if you're a Tom Cruise fan, I would recommend that you go and see Tom Cruise in his latest action adventure. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we may see him again in something future.
He makes a lot of these sort of movies.
I don't know if he'll come back as in another Mummy movie, but you know, who knows?
That's what they want. They're trying to make a whole sort of series of these sort of monster movies, and this is just the first one.
And maybe Tom may be in it.
Maybe.
Yes.
Boop.